Welcome to Podcapers, the official podcast of a place to hang your cape. And this week, this land is your land, this land is our land. Wait, yes, it's your land. No, wait, it's our land. We're talking about, well, our land, in case you couldn't guess. Cue the music! Hello there, capers, and as I said, welcome to Podcapers, the official podcast of a place to hang your cape. My name is Scott James Merridew, and this is a show where we talk about various geek and nerd-related topics, and are joined each week by a very special different guest. Except this week, we've got 3 very special different guests on. Give it up, capers, for Matt Fitch, Chris Baker, and Joe Totti.
Hi. Hello.
Hello.
Joe, I didn't check whether that's how you pronounce your name. Did I get it right?
You got it right first time.
Yay! I'm a professional! Oh,
yeah,
God.
it is, yeah.
Well, we'll get on to you, Joe, in a second. But first of all, Chris, Matt, it's not your first time on the show. We had you before with your wonderful Apollo novel.
Yeah, so our cherry was broken with that one, wasn't it?
Yes, and you were very kind enough to send me a hardbacked copy of the book, and I love it so much.
Oh. Do you like the physical copy?
I do like the physical copy. I'm holding the physical copy right now, and it's amazing. It has a sense of realism to it, and I'm very grateful that you sent it to me.
Thanks for plugging it. Yeah.
So how have you guys?
It's kind of ironic, isn't it? That I mean, you can't beat a hardback book, and now we're doing a webcomic. So
yes, it is very difficult to beat someone with a webcomic. I mean, unless you take a laptop and just smash it in their face.
We will try.
But just because it's difficult doesn't mean you shouldn't try. Absolutely.
You're reading it on a laptop, it'll hurt.
But also, we're joined by it's Joe Francis Totti is your full name, and you're the artist on the whatever webcomic they're going to be talking about today. Joe, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
I'm very glad to hear that.
Not as much of a morning person as you, but I'm good.
Yes, because it's 9:30 right now in it's 9:45 actually in the UK right now. Except one of us is not in the UK right now. Where is one of us?
I'm in Amsterdam today. I'm here. I also, so apart from comics, I also write TV commercials. And I'm out in Amsterdam shooting one this week. So we flew out early. We're shooting tomorrow. So I'm an hour ahead of you guys. So thanks for accommodating me.
Oh no, it's a great gulf of an hour's time difference. Dear God, however shall we cope?
The physicists out there will say your now is different to our now.
Oh my God, wibbly wobbly timey wimey.
It's a weird equation someone tried to show me about the state of now. Apparently, it's like the holy grail of physicists to figure out where the now.
How soon is now?
Philosophical physicists. I don't know. It's a weird one.
Yes, it's a weird intersection between the fundamental laws of reality and the fundamental ideas of reality.
Just if Matt was moving, his now would be different to ours. And he's ahead of. Anyway, this isn't about comics. You know, Joe's part of Apollo as well. I think we should absolutely shout that out because Joe did a lot of tirelessly wonderful work to the appendices. All of those illustrations in the back of the book. That's him.
Oh yes, there's the wonderful schematics and stuff for all the command and service modules, Saturn V, the lunar module, all of those. Well, they're very cool.
Yeah.
Thank you, yeah. Painstakingly drew, and I didn't realise that there was some public record versions.
So kids, if you want to build your own Saturn V rocket, here's how.
Yeah, exactly. It was tiresome, but it was fun. I like doing that. That's why I got into drawing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So speaking of your other work, I think we should talk a bit about you, Joe, for the moment, because you've been around, you've done some good stuff. One comic in particular I kind of want to talk about a bit, because it's got a very interesting title. Don't know much about it. I can guess what it's about. It's called The Corbin Comic.
Oh, God, yeah. Yeah, me and Chris. That was fun.
That was a laugh, wasn't it?
Yeah. When we pitched a 5-page story to a 3-page request.
Yeah, Joe ended up drawing. I wrote a script from my phone in a campsite in the south of Spain. I couldn't get through to Matt because he was, I think, doing another commercial shoot somewhere. And Joe was very quick. And by the time the day was out, we had thumbnails of how it was going to look, and we had Boris Johnson getting his heart ripped out, and Jeremy
Kalima.
Yeah, it was pretty much like the battle royale in Prime Minister's Questions, and then the good people at Selfmade said, "Oh, you've done 2 more pages than need be," and Joe had finished the whole thing, but then we submitted it, and it got in the book, obviously. But yeah, the Guardian ran with it as like the main.
Yeah, it was the main image, wasn't it?
It was splashed all over it. You media whore, you.
I know, but I was so excited. I was like, "Oh, I'll see my name on Amazon Prime," and I went on, and it wasn't on there. And I was like, "Oh, you bastards!"
That's it now. He only smokes cigars now.
Yeah. I saw a picture of Dion Abbey holding it.
Really?
Yeah, and it reminded me that we took the page out where she was bleeding to death.
Oh yeah, because we killed her off, and Corbyn was like holding her in his arm.
Yeah.
Awkward.
So I'm kind of glad about that. Yeah.
I love Diane. She's the only MP I'd want to have a hug with.
Oh no, you know who I'd like to hug? I'd like to hug Theresa May, so I can get right up close to her and then say, "The Lannisters send their regards," and stab her.
Oh my god, that's mutiny.
That's harsh, man. We don't.
Well, yeah, okay. So, I mean, I think this is I think it's a pretty good segue into something I want to talk about before we get onto the main meat of the episode. I want to talk about, because you guys, you're big in the comic industry. You guys know what you're doing. You know what you're talking about. You're professionals. I want to discuss a very serious topic. What is exactly the effect that Brexit is going to have on the comic book industry in the UK?
Well, supply chain stuff. Can't get art in time.
Yeah.
Not enough people coming into this country to read comics.
I think people will start writing a lot more stories based around it, but I don't know. I don't think it's going to have that much of an effect, because I don't think it's ever going to fucking happen.
It's going to be all fucking Dan Dare and Beano.
Yeah.
We're not going to have any Tintin anymore because it's continental.
Oh no.
Yeah, I mean, the truth for the matter is, there isn't really a UK comics industry
to worry about. That's what I was going to say, but I didn't want to sound
but people say there's an industry, and there is, but it's so small and so cottage. I'm not even sure that anything's going to change. I mean, we're living in the 70s anyway when it comes to UK comics, in my opinion.
How many?
I know
Comics anymore? Because people just know the Beano, don't they?
The cost of pop vinyls is going to go up.
Oh
yeah.
No.
That's about it.
Yeah. I mean, UK comic shops are being kept open by pop vinyls.
Yeah.
People aren't buying comics anymore.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I was hoping for something a bit more apocalyptic, but still, yeah. Just because
I'm sure we'll see a trend towards themes that are.
Yeah, definitely.
Look at Japan. A couple of bombs dropped, and now that's all they do is apocalyptic monster stuff. Or they did.
A couple of bombs.
Now it's a culture of cuddle bars.
The biggest bombs that ever be dropped.
Oh,
a couple of bombs, level 2
bombs.
cities.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe thematically we'll see some changes, but might not happen. Might not happen, Scott.
I mean, here's hoping, dear God. But this is the one. This is like, this is like a story arc in a soap opera, and it's like every single episode there's a cliffhanger, and we're just waiting for the whole damn thing to be resolved, but it's never gonna get resolved. It just keeps going and going
Walking
and going.
Dead season 2, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's the equivalent of when you're in school and you had the teacher coming in because one of your teachers were unwell. What were they called? Temporary teachers?
Supply teachers down
Yeah,
south.
supply teachers. And you didn't have to do any work because you were just talking about the supply teacher being there. And I reckon it seems like none of them want to go back to doing what actually needs to be done, so they just keep pushing on this, even though it's never going to happen.
They should do the Seinfeld thing, where they just come in and pretend like it never happened.
Yeah.
Just act like it never happened.
Bing, bum bum.
That was a perfect Seinfeld bass line.
You know what? We were talking before the show started how I'd previously, I started watching it now, never seen Star Trek The Next Generation. I believe we talked about that last time you guys on. I've never seen Seinfeld.
What?
I know.
What are you watching if you haven't seen those two shows?
I'm watching so many. I'm watching Winona Earp. I'm watching Star Trek: The Next Generation now. I'm watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I'm doing so many things. But you know, guys, I have a life. There's so many things I have to do, and so many things I have to watch, and things I have to read. I have to prioritize my life. I have a life outside of Jerry Seinfeld.
We've got Shakespeare here in England, and in America they've got Seinfeld. That's the best way to describe it.
Verily, then exit Kramer stage left in a most macabre and ludicrous fashion.
Okay, that was awesome.
Do you know what it is? I've been reading recently. I got it ages ago, but I've been reading it. I got this book ages ago called Shakespeare's Star Wars. Proving once more that A, Star Wars, and B, Shakespeare can be translated into any sort of story. It's amazing. I've got it right here. I'm gonna read you a fucking passage from it. That's what I'm gonna fucking do. Right here. Here we go. Okay, so Obi-Wan aside, a wise philosopher, if e'er there was, I'll warrant he hath character he hides. To Luke, now prithee try again and lay aside thy conscious self. Take thou this helmet thick, adorn thine eyes with silver shield opaque, and trust thine instincts only as thy guide. Luke, but surely 'tis a jest, for with this shield I nothing now can see. How can I fight? See, it works. It just works.
It does.
I'm done with
That's quite deep.
Oh god, yeah. So yeah, never seen Seinfeld.
I handed all my stuff back to the man. You know, I just done with it. I've got a box set of the original series and a Laserdisc rip that Matt gave me of the one where Han actually does shoot first, and that's all I need now.
Yeah,
I don't need anything.
Yeah, I mean, I've got DVDs of the original theatrical cut. It is out there. You can find it. George Lucas hasn't destroyed all the copies yet.
Oh yeah, I didn't need to know how Han Solo got his second name. didn't need to know how the plans got stolen from the Death Star. I didn't need it. It was a line in a movie that explained a lot.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, I just assumed that they stole the plans.
You want to go down the road, Scott? I don't know, man. I'm a 36-year-old man now. I'm not in the. I don't know. I feel like I've been beaten up too many times in that bar, and I've just learned not to go back into it.
You had your hands cut off by Obi-Wan Kenobi one too many times. I get it. I do.
And I am wanted in a few systems, and I have got the death sentence in them.
Yeah, I know. It does feel like that because Disney don't know what they're fucking doing. I'm sorry. We can't turn this into a rant about Star Wars because I will literally keep you guys hostage here whilst I rant about my many, many, many complaints.
It's okay.
I don't like Star Wars.
The best thing to do is it's like quitting smoking. Just stop it. I've just quit smoking, and it's hard. It's really hard to quit Star Wars.
Especially when they announced the new Clone Wars movie or whatever, and they just did that, just like show this new trailer for a new Clone Wars movie, and just like, oh god, just when I think I'm out, they pull me back in.
Just don't watch it. Just don't watch the trailer anymore. Honestly, do you know why there's no more Golden Compass movies in the series? There's only one movie. There's no more Narnia movies. Do you know why? Because people didn't go and see them, Scott. They just tuned out and went, nah.
But his Dark Materials are making a comeback. There's going to be like a TV series with Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Nah, don't care. Do you know why there's no more Jessica Jones being made? No one watched it.
Because Disney are setting up their own channel.
Whatever.
Yes.
Don't want to.
He's right. That's why. It's all the machinations of Disney. Yeah. The House of Mouse controls your lives, sheeple.
Let's just remember as well, if Disney set up their own channel and they've got Fox, that means Simpsons is going to be on it to stream.
Oh, no.
Oh, that'll be fun.
Which is exciting. Which is very exciting.
You can't go, there's Futurama people and there's Simpsons people.
I'm Futurama.
I'm a Futurama person. I've got tattoos.
Yeah, I know.
You've got Futurama tattoos? What have you got?
Bender Fry, the ship, all on the top of my arm.
Wow, that's awesome.
I was getting I wanted to get a tattoo, like a space tattoo, and I needed a spaceman, so I turned his face into Fry. Yeah.
Shut up and take my money.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Can I do any? I can't do any impressions of the cast, but I can do Zoidberg's like. That's all I can do. I can't do anything else. I'm working on it. Okay.
So
moving on from that weird and bizarre tangent where we talked about just pretty much everything under the sun, I think it's time to talk about go back to you guys again. So first of all, before we talk about our land, I want to know, Chris and Matt and guys, what's been going on with you since Apollo?
Well, so Apollo sort of opened a load of doors for us. It took us to New York Comic Con for the first time. We got to do a panel talk out there. We got to meet loads of amazing creators and editors. So that kind of broadened our comics network massively, which was great. And it also kind of just made people know who we were, which is nice, because before that, a few people did. We had Dead Canary Comics work out, and we, small press people knew who we were. But now, people kind of listen to what we have to say a bit more, which is really nice as a creator, because it's hard knocking on doors, and when people actually know who you are at the door, that helps. So what we've been doing is, like, Chris and I have just been writing loads, pitching stuff to editors, which is any writers listening to this will know what a bitch that is. It's hard. Sometimes you don't even get replies. Often you get positive response, but there's not a lot of money in comics. We've found so people go, yeah, we love this. We really love this book. We can't print it, but good luck. Yeah. So we've been having a lot of that, which is kind of, we'll get to this later, but it's kind of why we did a webcomic in the end. We just thought, you know what, we could just do this ourselves. We don't really need that lot. But yeah, in answer to your question, the last year has been pretty good in terms of just widening our comics community card.
And kind of breaking the bookstore thing as well, because as well as going into comic stores and seeing it, most bookstores carry Apollo, which is kind of a real buzz, and it kind of opens different doors with different publishers.
Yeah, having a physical copy of your book in stores being sold for money. I can talk English.
I mean, it just sort of gives, as writers, we don't confine ourselves just to the medium of comic books. There's other things like film and TV, and being part of a bookstore crowd does help get into that world as well. So it is, it's been a good few months, at least since New York.
Yeah, I mean, if J.K. Rowling can do it, why can't you?
Oh yeah, I mean, obviously, an easy idea like Harry Potter just comes to you in the blue. Yeah.
Stolen by Neil Gaiman. Ooh, never mind. Moving on. I do like Harry Potter, but still. And I don't want to say...
Harry Potter.
We all love Harry Potter. Who doesn't love Harry Potter? Except the crimes of Grindelwald! Anyway. Was there any sort of... I mean, obviously the book is so great. I know. I read it. I did it, the episode with you guys. But what was it? Was there any sort of, like... I don't know, boost to it given by A, the fact that it was close to the anniversary, and B, that movie First Man? Did that have any sort of impact?
It didn't really. So in the build up to First Man coming out, it was a bit of a wave that we could ride. So that was nice. But the movie came out, and I don't know if you've seen it.
I haven't actually. I was going to see it, and it sort of bypassed my cinema. I don't know what happened.
It bypassed a lot of cinema. It basically didn't do that well. It wasn't a bad film. It was really well done. People like me who love space and NASA, we watched it and was, it looked like how it should look, and it was good. But it was quite a somber movie. It didn't even really kind of celebrate the moon landing. It was weird. And I think a lot of people got put off, and it basically didn't do that well. I think it didn't make a whole bunch of money. And in a way, it kind of became a bit of a damp squib. It kind of became, people were like, oh, fuck that fuck that Apollo shit. Fuck that.
What's
crap film.
this? Them taking the first moon landing seriously and exploring the full psychological weight of 3 men getting catapulted into the stars that may never come back? What nonsense is this?
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, we got a nice write-up in the Times about how we had kind of taken an original spin, because it's kind of, I don't want to go back to Star Wars, but it's a bit like Rogue One. You know what's going to happen, so what's the point in watching it? They make it to the moon and back, so what's the point? But then there is a human story going on in that whole thing. I want to see this new one, the Apollo 11 thing, the documentary, the IMAX experience.
Oh,
Yeah, that looks good. Yeah.
It's getting fucking 5 stars. Everyone's gushing about it. I just got to see it. Where's my free ticket, internet?
But the moon landing anniversary, which is this year, has helped us quite a bit. And to be honest, that was part of it. I mean, we came up with the idea for Apollo a long time ago, and it was lucky that, making a comic takes a really long time. So by the time it had been picked up by a publisher, drawn, coloured and printed and in stores, it was only 2018, which meant that the 50th anniversary is 2019. It was almost perfect timing. So, and we did kind of plan that a bit. We spoke with Self-Made Hero about when are we going to release it. Shall we bring it out in 2019 when everyone else is bringing out moon landing stuff? Shall we bring it out in 2018, which is what we did, and kind of get ahead of the curve? So there was a whole strategic chat. Obviously, that probably does also come, like Chris and I, both from advertising backgrounds, so we do think about this stuff. So, it's gone really well. And I think this year, there's going to be a lot of opportunities for us to get the book. We've kind of moved on from it because that's an old thing that we did, and now we're doing Our Land, and we've got other projects. So for us, it's kind of a bit old, and we're a bit bored of talking about it. But this is the year to talk about it, so that's what we're going to be doing, really.
Yeah, it's this weird sort of thing where it's like, you want to move on, you want to talk about other things, as you say, but it's going, for this year at least, it's like, I don't know, it's like with the Titanic 100th anniversary, because it was weird, because I was living in Southampton for the 100th anniversary of that. So there's Titanic stuff everywhere, and of course everyone was talking about the movie. And I don't know this for sure, but James Cameron was talking about that movie non-stop, when all he wanted to do was just talk about the fucking Na'vi.
Right.
Yeah.
Nobody cares, James! You're the only one that cares!
Yeah, you went to see that movie. Come on. We all went to see it. We all loved it.
Yeah, and then we moved on with our lives.
Sure. Titanic's a story of, I don't know, there's a great story there. It's a beautiful tale. I love that movie.
Beautiful tale of dozens and dozens of hundreds of people drowning.
It's more than that, Scott. There's a lot more to it than that. There's a lot more going below the surface.
Well, below decks, you mean? Oh! Everyone's dancing!
Maybe one day people will reflect back on this podcast.
I highly doubt it. So let's move on now, and let's talk about Our Land. So it's a webcomic, as you say, just to clarify. So why a webcomic?
Well, as Matt had just said, we did pitch it out with a load of other things, but Our Land was the one we sort of held back a little bit, and we got interest from one particular publisher who still talks to us and gives us lots of lovely comments about it today. Well, we just thought this is the one we're going to put out on our own ticket and get it out there and have an experiment, because we've never done a webcomic before, and it is a big undertaking, and I think Joe has to get a little digital high five from the world for all the work he'll be doing over the next few months. But we've had a lot of support. Comic Scene, the UK comic magazine, they're going to be running a piece about it in their March issue, with a little article about the book about it. We've got plans for Thought Bubble. I'll happily reveal those in due course. But it's just something new for us.
Yeah, and the answer to why, like I said earlier, there's not really a UK comics industry. That sounds negative. It's not. It's just, we run our own indie publishing label, and there's not much money in it. People aren't buying really floppy comics anymore.
I mean, it's like saying there's not a lot of huge fishing industry in the Sahara Desert. You know, it's just a fact of the place.
Yeah, basically. And, you know, comics is love, is people doing it because they love it. And we love storytelling. And we're very lucky to have Joe, who was willing to draw it and put it online. Because a lot of artists, you know, they'll do you a few samples for a pitch, but they need to get paid because that's their job. And Joe, we spoke a lot. We all spoke like, shall we put this out ourselves? If we do, how are we going to do it? Is it something we want to do? And we decided in the end, we're probably going to get more exposure and more people reading the story and enjoying it if we do it online. So it was actually a decision that we all made and agreed that it was the right thing to do.
Mm.
I think it's going to work out very well because, I mean, I've seen lots of different webcomics over the years. It's rare that you see something with an actual ongoing storyline. We've had that on the show before with The Legend of Val, and I remember when I was first started at A Place to Hang Cape, I reviewed a web comic called Dudes, or whatever it was called. It was like the Smurfs, but it wasn't. And this is just some examples. But most webcomics tend to be episodic, almost Garfield-esque sort of thing.
Yeah.
So
that's almost like a safety net for the creator, isn't it? They can cut it off at their choosing. With Our Land, it's got a beginning, a middle, and an end. It's it was intended to be a 4-issue miniseries. So really, you are looking at a comic book monthly retrofitted to be a web comic. So it will be running the same way any normal comic does. Once it's complete, it'll be 4 issues, and they run as a standard story arc within their own right. So
And
we've thought it all out. The script's right there. We know how it ends. Joe knows how it ends. God help you, Joe.
Yeah.
Have they given you a lot of work to do?
It don't end small.
A hell of a lot, but I enjoy them. I enjoy it.
I just imagine you look guys on the phone like, you want me to do what?
I think it was Todd McFarlane who said it's a writer can write giant battle scene, but then for an artist that means they've got to probably draw 50 planes, many tanks, people dying. Yeah, so but I'm always pushing for the action stuff. I always say to them, the more you let me go wild with the action, the better.
Yeah,
definitely.
And we see a little bit of action in the very beginning of the comic. But before we get into that, I want to just guys, can you just tell the capers what exactly Our Land is about?
Who wants to take that one?
Get on, Matt. You do it.
You wrote the.
I'm just like throwing a bone into the pack of dogs, just like, get it, boys, get it.
Okay, so Our Land is it's a what if story. It's about a lot of things. It's about family. It's about racial tension. It's kind of about, even though it's set in 1940s New Mexico, it's kind of about the UK now and how we're very divided racially and socially. So that's kind of like the deeper what it's about.
I mean, I often confuse New Mexico with, say, Basildon. Basically the same.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's about, I mean, so in the story, the protagonists are both Native American. The hero and the villain are both Native American. And they struggle a lot with white society and they're not accepted, even though really they're all American. And that's kind of like the UK now, you know, we're all English, we're all British, wherever you're actually from. And we're all fighting and arguing amongst ourselves when really we should just be more united. So that's kind of the social inspiration behind the story, but that could possibly sound a little pretentious. So what it's really about is aliens and fighting.
I think it's actually very true to life, though, because I mean, I've lived in places in Britain, in just like small towns or villages stuff, that hate the next town over for no reason. We're very, as a people, we're very territorial. I think it's because I don't know. Maybe it's because we used to have like different kingdoms, like the kingdoms of Wessex and Mercia, or I don't know. And it's just like we're all the same, but we all hate each other.
Exactly. Yeah. And this story is set in 1947, which is only 2 years after World War II ended. So the whole world is very divided. You know, they've just been through this major war where literally everyone was fighting everybody else. The whole planet is not united. So that's kind of the backdrop. But what it's about, in a nutshell, is we all have heard of Roswell, New Mexico, 1947. They say a UFO crashed. They say that the US Army found it and took the technology. Now, this story deals with, well, what if the US Army didn't find it? What if a put-upon Native American teenager found it instead? And what would happen? And what would he do with that technology?
Ooh.
In Atomic America, the backdrop.
Yeah, so in that respect as well, I've said to Matt and Chris, when I've read the first time I read it, it kind of hit me. And I was like, this is a bit like, obviously, you should never put anything up against this, but Akira, obviously. It's a kid who gets hold of power that he can't control.
Yeah, Akira's really good.
It's too much power for him, so it corrupts him.
I would have gone with Chronicle myself, but that's just me. You know, I'm sorry, guys. I've only seen like the first 10 minutes of Akira.
Oh God!
God,
Here we go.
I think you and I need to like have a movie night or something, dude.
Honestly,
I'm sorry.
Plastic Riker episode.
There's like two different English language versions of it. I didn't know which one to get. Do I get like the original version or the one with like Johnny Young Bosch in it? I don't know.
Watch the Japanese version.
Watch the film on Netflix.
Watch the film on Netflix. Okay. I've seen plenty of anime films. It's just that one that I haven't seen. I'm sorry.
It's the greatest. It's probably one of the greatest animes of all time.
It's the only one worth watching. I'm not an anime fan, but that is a top 10 movie.
Excuse me. Are we discounting the cinematic brilliance of Pokemon the first movie? Uh-huh.
We are, yes.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Absolutely, we are. Vikings. Anyway, yeah, it sounds it does sound very intriguing. How many exactly? How much has been released so far of the webcomic?
What day? Let's future-proof this podcast. What day is it today? If this is the first day of the podcast coming out.
If this is the day the podcast coming out, then this podcast is going to be released on the 6th.
Okay.
Wednesday, so we'll be on page 5.
So go to the link that will be provided in this podcast somewhere, and you'll see a new page today. So there'll be five, right?
5 pages of comic, yeah.
Yeah.
And then on Friday you have the next. It's every Wednesday and Friday.
Every Wednesday and Friday, and so currently there are 4 pages, which is a bit disconcerting for me when I got to page 4 and realised, there's no more. There's no more. Like, I set aside like a day and a plus to read all of the comic, and I realised, wait a minute, there's only 4 pages. Oh shit! Oh, well, I guess I've got a day free then. Jeez, because there's not that much to analyse, and it's really annoying because I was really starting to get into it.
Oh,
well, that's good.
That's a good thing, yeah, so that's good.
You teasers!
Yeah.
That's the thing about webcomics, isn't it? Like, eventually there will be more there, and people can discover it at any point and sort of go back and read it from the start. The people who have very kindly joined us right from day one, it's going to be slow going, guys. 2 pages a week, but
2 pages a week. As you know, most people do like a page a week, so 2 pages a week is pretty good, and that's the schedule, and you're going to stick to that, hopefully. Yeah. So that is definitely good, and I think that puts it a cut above a lot of other webcomics. Hell, some webcomics only update like a page every 2 weeks, so this is a lot of content. It's just I'm an impatient bastard. That's my problem.
Yeah.
Well, like you said, because we're actually telling a story here, a narrative arc, we didn't want to leave it too long, because otherwise you forget what's going on, you lose the thread, you lose readers. So, we want to make sure that the story does keep on ticking, and it's not that long to wait until the next instalment.
And these characters go through, they go through changes throughout the arc, and we're quite excited to see what people think and who people gravitate towards. I think we've created a good little cast there that are going to hopefully get a little following.
It does seem very intriguing, but it's frustrating for me in 2 reasons. One, as a reader, because it means I've got to wait for more content. How dare you make me wait? And 2, it's very frustrating for me as a critic, because it means, like, well, I could try and analyse these characters, but we're literally 4 pages in. A, there's not much to analyse, and B, even if there was a bit to analyse, they're going to change, as you say, and go on this great journey, so it's really kind of pointless. So now
what you could do, Scott, is for us, you're the first person that we've spoken to about the 4 pages that are up. You could tell us your first impressions. You could tell us if you like these people yet. You could tell us, well, whatever you think, really. But it'd be really good to get some feedback.
Well, I think it's
honest as well.
Well, I think it's interesting. It's interesting to see what you do with it, because there's clearly a dynamic between what I assume are going to be the 2 main characters. So you've got this sheriff person, whose name I've forgotten, and this guy getting beaten up in the bar, whose name I've also forgotten. It begins with D. What's it?
Yes, Dina is the boy,
yeah,
and Casa is the girl.
Brother.
Dina, yeah, the brother and sister. Dina is, a pissed off young man who, it will later get into it, but even in the first few pages you can see that he's not happy with the way Native Americans are being treated. And then the flip side of that, the mirror image almost, we've got his sister who is trying to embrace it, and she works for the sheriff's office, so she works for the United States of America. So she's trying to be part of culture while Dina's trying to fight it and getting beaten up by it, literally.
And it's interesting because you're bringing up all these interesting themes of like post-colonialism and this idea of assimilation versus non-conformity, and it's very interesting to see where it's going to go. Clearly, there's a lot of very binary ideas going on, these dual dynamics that will eventually, I am assuming, come to a head. So it's going to be very interesting to see where it goes. Because that's the thing with America. I think America is all built around this idea of identity, which is such a nebulous thing, especially for Americans, because my personal idea is that there's no such thing as an American. Every American thinks they've got an idea about what an American is, and I think they're all wrong.
You're so close to nailing a big part of the story. There's actually like a nice monologue to that effect towards the end of the book.
Oh,
what is an American? Hey, what is an American? A bit like that really terrible bit in Star Trek V. They say, you know what, Spock? Everyone's human.
America is the first world nation, isn't it? Really?
America, we're all American, really.
Yeah.
In a way. At least the people that have been
brought. Or they're all British, depends how you look at it.
Yeah.
I, for one, think we're all Madagascarian. Madagascarian? I don't know. I don't even live in Madagascar. I thought it was all just lemurs.
Well...
That's a movie.
You've got a movie there.
Oh, whoops. Did I confuse real life with a DreamWorks movie again?
The King Julian. My daughter likes that show.
I've never actually seen this show. I just watched the movies, and I like them. So
you were there. So you've seen Madagascar, but haven't seen Akira.
I'm sorry. You have to understand, I did not grow up in a very film and media conscious household. Any media I watched was what my parents wanted me to watch, and so that was just like fucking Disney and shit. I never got to explore anything or get really down into like cinema as a kid, even though we went to the cinema all the time because I begged them to go see the cinema. So I never got to see I never got to experience any true and genuine interesting culture. I just got like...
What's your address? I'm going to send you like Akira. I got a spare DVD of it. I'm going to ping it to you.
I'll find it on Netflix. I'll stream it online. It'll be fine. I'll do it.
I'll say you got the rest of the day because you haven't got any more pages to read.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So what?
Yeah.
One thing I do want to talk about is the art style. I really do. I like the art style, especially on page 4, because it's got something I really like in comics, which is like it's got a lovely purple sky background. There's sort of like gradient purple sky thing going on in the background. It's got a very relaxed, nice hue to it, but it's also it's almost like this sense of, I don't know, impending danger. Maybe I'm reading too much into it.
Who was that? There was a girl, Joe. You were propping up the bar at about 2 a.m. in Leeds.
Oh, very drunk.
A girl, and then you were like, mate, she colours Thor. she's like looking at these pages and telling me how to colour them or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
I was very...
yeah. Does she? Well, it's one of my colouring heroes is bloody hell. His name. That's a bad sign, isn't it?
Clearly, they've had a great impact on you.
Yeah, clearly. Oh my god. Well, he colours on May the Falcon and Extremity by Daniel Warren Johnson. I forget his name for now. He basically picks a hue for each page, and this is what the girl in Thought Bubble was telling me. She was saying, pick a colour for the page, and then whatever the focus of the page is, flip the colour, so the opposite colour to make the impact. So I've started using that, and it seems to be helping.
Yeah, there's a couple of like purple shadowy overtones in previous pages, like in the bar scene where Dina's getting the crap kick out of him. But there's also like these yellow sort of explosion bits happening when there's action, or like a glow coming from outside of the bar, like the window or something. And it's a very how can I put it? It's a very it reminds me very much, even though it's set in New Mexico, of like a smoky New Orleans jazz bar or something.
Well, yeah. So I mean, just like colour-wise, if you're in the desert, anything indoors is going to be so cold feeling and dark. So it's playing the contrasts against each other. Everything outside's got to feel warm and sickly. Everything inside's going to feel cold and dull, because that's just like the two hues of the desert, really.
Yeah, basically, I don't know. I've not seen many deserts, unfortunately. But I've always had this sort of fascination with deserts, particularly like the Mojave and the New Mexico desert, just because it's got all the UFO stuff, and I really like this. I just love that aesthetic of like a flying saucer flying past like a cow in the desert with a cactus and a mesa in the distance. I don't know why. I just always really gravitated to that sort of aesthetic, and it's got this sort of even though it's a very harsh environment, it's got this sort of romantic quality to it.
Yeah, it's also so primal. And then technology is so modern. So if you've got a spaceship, which is something at the highest peak of technology, and then a place on Earth that's almost completely dense of any life, there's just, it's a massive contrast, and it does work.
It just really works.
Definitely.
Maybe because
it's Mike Spicer. I've just remembered his name.
Yeah.
That's killing me.
Shout out to him. Well done.
Yeah, it's unreal.
Okay, so that's the art, and it's very good. Do you know what actually I like about the art? I love that the faces are really, really expressive. I mean, I can live with art that has characters that aren't very expressive, but I always prefer expressive faces, just because it just makes it stand out some more. Like, I mean, there's a scene where all the patrons of the bar are laughing at Dina, and he looks pretty stone-faced. Next panel, he looks positively apoplectic. Panel after that, completely and utterly consumed by rage. And it just leaps off the page.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I've always thought I struggled with emotion, with characters. Emotion and action, I've always felt like I struggled, but that's just... Matt and Chris have to deal with me little negative breakdowns every other week.
He needs a good shaking. He's a big lad as well. It's frightening to do it.
Yeah.
Get a hold of yourself, I say, up to the clouds.
I think all creative people...
Guys, you go to the cockpit. I'll handle this. Everything's gonna be all right. And there's a long line behind me.
People doubt, don't they? All artists, writers, anyone doubts their own abilities.
Yeah.
Often,
yeah,
but I know I do. And I've often, I've got Chris. So, I mean, we write in a team, which is a little unusual, but we prop each other up. And now Joe's part of the team, and he compliments us on our writing or gives us pointers, and we do the same for the art, and it works really well. So we've got a good little collaboration going, and
so
it's good to see the response that Joe's art's getting. Everyone is saying this looks great, this looks awesome. So it's really nice that it's not just us telling him now; it's everyone telling him.
I'm looking forward to see how it's going to progress the art style when we get away from the slightly more naturalistic setting and into the slightly weirder aspect, as it will surely happen.
It does get weird, and there is Matt and I did ponder a lot about the technology. And when you do sci-fi, you kind of need to start inventing rules for yourself. So I'm hoping that comes across. And I'm hoping people really love the donut brand we've created as well.
Ooh, there's a donut brand.
There's a donut brand. It's going to be, it's a thing.
Oh, yeah.
That's going to be your movie, The Golden Calf.
I think it will bleed into other things we've done. So, you know.
We just see we read Apollo back and realised, oh my God, Armstrong was eating the same kind of donuts.
I am hoping people take a second look at Apollo one day, and there's more going on in that book than people have noticed yet.
Absolutely, I think that's one of the great things about Apollo is that it's. I mean, I had to read it multiple times, obviously, but there's so much you realise multiple times going in. And I mean, some stories you read and they're good, they're definitely good, but it's like a one and done sort of thing. And
sure.
And I don't think that's the case with Apollo. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens with our land, because I imagine there are going to be people who are going to read it on a weekly basis every Wednesday and Friday. But then they're going to, once they finish reading it, they'll start again from the beginning. And I'm wondering what that experience is going to be like. It's going to be interesting, I think.
Yeah. I have full respect for the people that will hold out and binge on it in a couple of months. No, I won't hold anything against anyone for doing that. But yeah.
I mean, the exciting thing for us doing it weekly like this is we can change it as well as we go along. So we can listen to what people are saying, and we can take that on board and we can react to it, which you wouldn't be able to in print because you would have done the whole thing and sent it off to the editor and it would be finished. So it has potential to evolve and reshape itself as we go along.
I think it'll be very interesting to see the ways it can grow and develop, because it sounds like a pretty big saga. I know it's only going to be like 4 issues, but I think it's going to be pretty great. So,
it's got a lot of scope. Yeah, it's got big scope.
Yeah,
I think either maybe that's because it's focusing on these 2 characters, and it doesn't sound like a big scope. But when you really get, I think the big scope things are always the things that encompass like countries and worlds and like Game of Thrones sort of vast landscapes. And the other big scope things are the things that focus on just like 1 or 2 characters. It's always like in the middle bit where you've got like a cast of like 6 or 4 or something like that you can't really get as much of a broad spectrum of ideas as you would be able to with other things. Because you either make it very introspective with these 2 characters and their personal journeys, or make it very extraspective with these vast, huge armies of people.
Well, I think we're certainly locking down spoilers on this podcast, because there is a wider range of characters. I think the next page we drop a major character.
Mm-hmm.
The events start very small. It is basically a small town sheriff and a little bit of trouble in a bar, but it does escalate to all out war at the White House, on the White House lawn. So
now who'll be starting a slobber knocker in my town? I can't.
It gets very big. So there's.
I apologise to every American everywhere. That's not my best one.
Can we coin thrill coaster, like a roller coaster but with more thrills?
I don't see why not.
It's a thrill coaster then.
Copyright that shit.
TM.
Copyright 2019. Anyway, so you guys, you're writing team, as you say. You've written with other stuff together before. Is there any difference to writing like a web comic together than it is just a full novel?
There wasn't. Like Chris said, this was actually written originally to be printed as a mini-series. So that writing process was pretty much the same as what we always do. But what we've got now is every time Joe draws a page, we review it before it goes online, make copy tweaks, get on the phone. So we're literally rewriting it every, Wednesday and Friday, or Tuesday and Thursday. But we're kind of still going through it, reacting to the art, reacting to how the story's been told, and kind of changing it as we go along still. So there's a little bit of a difference. It's quite exciting because we're going to be living with this story for ages. So rather than just packing it up, saving the Word document and firing it off, we're still kind of living with it. That's interesting.
Absolutely. It's like the difference between, I don't know, this is probably a horrible comparison, difference between fostering children and adopting children, I don't know.
That is a horrible comparison. But yeah, it's a bit like that.
I recently saw that movie Instant Family, and it's kind of on my brain. I liked it.
I think
You are watching some shit, aren't you?
Yeah, I was just going to say.
Hey!
You haven't got time to watch classics.
It's Marky
I'll tell you
Mark
what.
learning about the value of family. Who doesn't like that?
If I meet you in Thought Bubble, I do hope you come up to Thought Bubble, because it's definitely, and the Harrogate one this year is just, you got to be there, man. It's where comics happens in the UK once a year. Come up, Matt and I will meet you with Joe, and we're going to have a little tote bag full of a few DVDs we think you need to own. Do people still watch DVDs?
I still watch DVDs. I've got a ton of DVDs. So.
Right. So we're going to find like Seinfeld in there, some next gen episodes, probably like season 3 or 4. Akira will be in there.
Yeah.
Apocalypse Now, movies, actual proper movies.
Hey, I went to the cinema the other day, and I saw
What did you
3
see?
movies. I saw Aftermath, that period piece with Keira Knightley.
I see.
I saw oh god, what was the other two? Clearly they made a great impact on me. Fighting with My Family, that wrestling movie.
Okay.
And what was the other one? It wasn't Green Book, because I try not to watch things that have a white savior narrative. Oh god, I can't remember. But they were 2 pretty good films.
I watched Roma last night. Pretty good.
Oh, I've heard good things about that.
It's a very beautiful movie with very little going on in it.
Is that Alphonse Cuarón?
Correct.
Okay, you see, because I mean, no, he wasn't the guy who did Birdman. That was someone else.
No, he's the Gravity guy. I can't even remember what happens in Gravity. George Clooney's in it. That's what I remember. It was so forgettable. But Children of Men, wow.
Oh yeah, that was fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
Love Children.
Go see
I like
Roma.
Gravity.
But Roma's
Gravity
like
on
Star
the
Trek,
IMAX
the motion
was
picture.
incredible.
Hmm?
Gravity on the IMAX was incredible. It's
Yeah,
a visual
yeah.
film, but yeah. Carry on.
Space. We just keep coming back to space. Oh my god, with Benny from the Lego Movie Part 2.
There is space in Ireland eventually. It goes into outer space.
Oh god, I'm interested to see how, like. So what? I mean, we probably talked about this in the Apollo thing, but is there any particular reason why you guys do so many stories about space?
It's fucking awesome up there, isn't it? Who knows what it's like? I don't know. We don't do so many. There's not a great deal of space. Maybe I've oversold that. It's more of a earthbound thing.
Actually,
When you're dealing, yeah. I mean, weirdly, Matt originally came up with the concept for Arland years ago, because we used to have little Dead Canary meetings where we would bring a few ideas to the table to do short stories, and eventually a few of those shorts made it into an anthology, which is called Adventures in Science. I heartily recommend seeking it out. It's how we met Joe. Joe did a great story in that, and Our Land was a really good idea, and it was one of the better ones that were on the table. There was a bigger story there, so Matt and I, as we do when we've got nothing else to grab hold of and work on, we go back to the maybe pile, and Our Land just felt like something we had to write, even if it wasn't made. And it did turn into this fun, glorious 90s action movie epic. If it were a movie, it'd be the kind of thing you'd happily sit and watch on a Sunday afternoon.
I mean,
It's very, very epic. Got a nice hero's journey going on through it. So yeah, but the idea was so sound, like Roswell crash. What happens if Native Americans have a war with America? It's like a new civil war. That was the concept, and now it's got a compelling story.
I think if people did, so Scott, you said we write a lot about space. I think if people did pick out one thing that we always write about, it's America, and that's kind of, I mean, unintentional. But I used to live in America. I've got a big love for the place, and we always keep coming back to it because, like I think you said, like what is America? I think it's a global story, isn't it? Something that everyone can relate to, no matter where you're from. And I think that's like a theme that keeps popping up and will keep popping up in our work.
Yeah, because it's almost like an experimental country. Let's see if we can make this work. And so far, the experimenters issued some interesting results.
America's like communism. On paper, it's you can't fault it. It's the perfect idea. It's and that's why it's worth fighting for. I think that's why it's so compelling. It's the land of the free. The ball's on them to call themselves the land of the free, and they are. You know, you go out there, everything's bigger, everything's better. You can do what you want to do. You can have it your way. It's wonderful.
Is it though? Are they that free? Because here's the thing. There's an international democratic index, and it basically rates on various categories every single country in the world based on how democratic they are. And the top tiers of democracy are a full democracy and a flawed democracy. Now, bear in mind, the last time I looked at that statistics was 2014, so I haven't checked it recently. But 2014, the UK was ranked 16 on the democratic index. So out of 200 countries, it's not bad. It's not brilliant, but it's not bad. America was classified as a flawed democracy. It was placed at number 21, underneath Japan at 20. And for
how many free cups of coffee do you get when you go for a coffee in the morning, Scott, or whatever hot beverage you desire?
I sometimes have a cup of tea.
Right. Well, I think I paid for 2 coffees when I was out in New York recently. And for me, that's democracy working for me.
Oh.
And coffee.
If you can get a coffee, democracy, cool.
I don't know.
But I tend to look at it as that's the thing. See, I've never lived in America, so you guys know what it's like to live on, on the ground, boots on the ground, that sort of day-to-day stuff. I don't know that. I just look at something like, say, the Supreme Court, which features lifetime positions that the American people don't get to vote on who gets those lifetime positions, and they make wide sweeping decisions that impact the lives of a lot of Americans, and I think that's kind of weird.
It's a shame we don't have anything like that here, do we?
Yeah, you make a very good point. You make a very...
Called the House of Lords or the Royal Family.
Philip, they're talking about us again! Release the hounds, Lizzie!
Why isn't he up on charges? He ran someone off the road.
Well, yeah! Why isn't he?
He's immune from it, Scott. He's born into it, immune from it. So, you know.
Oh,
America's
whoopsie, did
awesome.
I do a manslaughter? Yes, Philip, you did. Now that's a naughty boy.
I didn't vote.
Oh, God. Where did this podcast go? We were talking about a lovely webcomic, and now we've gone into some weird geographical, political nightmare realm. Oh, wait, that's just our ordinary lives!
We'll give you one spoiler from what you've read. What do you want to know, Scott?
Oh, God. Oh, I feel like a kid in a candy shop. Oh, God. Okay, so a minor spoiler. I'm just intrigued. This sheriff person and this Dina guy, do they know each other? Is there a relationship there? Are they friends? Do they know each other? Have they had run-ins with each other? Are they relatives? What's going on there?
It's the brother and sister, mate.
Oh, okay then.
But that hasn't been dropped yet, has it?
Yeah.
So on page 4, the sheriff, calls Casa, the deputy sheriff, on the radio and says, "We've got Dina here at the station and you need to come and pick him up." But we don't reveal that they're brother and sister yet. So that's coming in a couple of pages.
That's the spoiler, though.
That's the spoiler.
There you go, yeah, you just wasted that.
No, I don't think it's wasted, because that's an interesting development. There's a familial relationship there. And that's going to... And they clearly got 2 very different ideas, and they're 2 different ways of conducting themselves. And so there's an extra level of conflict there. That's made me excited now. I think it's an interesting look at their dynamic.
It is.
See, it shows just how pretentious I fucking am, because I can find any sort of thematic, semiotic, sort of introspective analysis in any fucking mundane thing. The brother and sister, most people say, oh, the brother and sister. Me, it's like, ooh, the intricate dynamices of their pseudo-psychosexual eventual adventure, dynamic arc, character growth, blah.
But you're actually... one book we've got that doesn't really have any sex in it, either. Now that you come to mention it.
But you're actually completely right about the meaning of them being brother and sister, because like what Chris and I are really interested in is characters. So yeah, this is about, you know, aliens and global whatever invasions and stuff, but really it's about people, and it's a story about family, you know. So the best stories, the biggest stories have really come down to people, you know, like that. Yes, they're trying to save the world, but the real world is their world, and a world can be one or two people.
Yeah,
I think it heightens the nature over nature thing as well.
The characters on both sides of the line, the good and the bad, they're both very, very interesting, and the kind of connection is that brother sister thing. So hopefully that'll intrigue people. We got the Cassa's actually not the sheriff; she's a deputy.
Oh, sorry, I'm not familiar with the intricacies of American law enforcement.
No, just to say that one of our favourite character for a while was the sheriff, who's coming soon, and you'll see.
Tomorrow, Wednesday, yeah.
Oh, yeah, Wednesday. The future Chris.
Today, yes.
Oh, I'm hoping he looks like Don Johnson.
Oh, you won't be disappointed.
Yay! Right, so let's say so Webcomics going to go out on a do a weekly basis. So when it's all done, when all the pages are out, when all the issues are out, is it just going to be on the webcomic format on the Our Lad comic website, or will we maybe one day be able to buy a physical copy of it someday?
Well, you don't need to buy it, because at Thought Bubble, I'm not going to tell you too much, but there will be free copies going from a certain location under a certain particular banner. So
ooh, get yourself down to Thought Bubble, capers. Speaking of, so you're going to be at Thought Bubble. When are you going to be at Thought Bubble?
Well, before Thought Bubble, we're going to be Matt and I will be down at Portsmouth, so come find us. That's a little bit closer. Either we're going to be mooching around, we might be doing some kind of talk, or we may just be at a table, drinking tinnies and flogging books.
You'll be there. That's the main thing. You'll be there.
We'll be there, warm in seats. So there's that. And with Thought Bubble, we haven't made an official plan of when what we're going to be doing, but there's chances are we'll be at the Self-Made Hero table, nursing hangovers. But yeah, keep the Friday free. Guys and gals.
Joe, you're going to be there?
Yeah, I'll be there.
Good.
Probably not with a table.
But you'll be there. That's the main thing. I feel better knowing you're there. You're a comforting presence.
You know what? Thought Bubble and really any con is so much better when you don't have a table.
Yeah.
Like when you're stuck behind a table trying to flog books to people who have no interest in buying them, or are just there to buy a lunchbox or go and get a signature from some ex-wrestler or whatever. It's boring. But when you're I had such a good time at Thought Bubble being on the Self-Made Hero table, because we had time slots where we were doing sign-ins or we had to go and do a talk, but then the rest of the time we were free to just go and hang out and experience the con and really have a good time. So I think that's what we'll do again this year.
I think it's a great way. I think that's a good way of doing it, because we want to be able to find you and see the stuff you're doing, but at the same time, with Podcapers, every time we go off to a con, we always get to. It's always fun just to wander around and see what's going on, and maybe ogle all the awesome cosplay. It's awesome. So it is fun to do. Don't know if it's the thing. I keep on. So many people talk about Thought Bubble, and it does seem like the place to be. I've never been, and I do want to go. I don't know if I'll be able to go, though, because that's the problem with living in Edinburgh. I love Edinburgh. It's an amazing city, but in terms of getting to cons that aren't in Scotland, it's a nightmare.
You're probably nearer to Harrogate than we are, aren't you, by now?
Sorry?
Yeah.
Scotland's probably nearer to Thought Bubble now than we are.
Oh, yeah, it's in Harrogate, isn't it?
Yeah, because Chris and I are in the south of England, so Thought Bubble is an absolute trek to get to, and they've just made it even further away now. But for Joe, it's all right, I guess. I don't know. I know nothing about the north. Once you get me out of the M25, I'm lost.
See, the problem is, if I want to get down to London, it's fairly easy because I can just take a plane. But if I want to get anywhere else, most of the time I have to get a train, and trains, for some reason, are infinitely more expensive.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
Just Googling it, apparently there's still wolves roaming in Harrogate.
Okay.
Well, we're all from the south, so Joe, I'll pick you up on the way. Come on, man. We'll Mad Max it all the way up.
It's not
That's
fucking
a
Westeros.
It'd be hilarious. Yeah, so it's all very cold up there. It'd be November, so it'd be freezing, and
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
so it'd be fun. But it's a long way away, Thought Bubble. But it definitely just start saving. Just save a little bit of cash because it's the best con ever. It really is. It's where cons are. It was where comics are celebrated. I love the MMs and the London Film and Comic Con stuff, and I'm really excited about the new Doctor Who, and I really love all that. But this is about comics and the creators who make them, the publishers who are working in the non-industry that is the UK. There are some really amazing people, and they all congregate under a few little tents. And Leeds last year was particularly fun. It's going to be exciting to see what happens at Harrogate and how that works out. And but you've got to go there because everyone's there.
I do have to go. The last con I went to was MCM in Glasgow, and it was a lot of fun. But the Comics Village, I mean, if I was being charitable, I'd say it's like a quarter of the floor space, if that.
That's an insult to comics. The Comics Village.
Yeah.
It's like called a Comic Con, and there's a little side bit, which is the guilty bit, which you walk through and sort of nod at people that are giving you puppy eyes. Thought Bubble is not. There's no Comics Village. It's just this. It's all about comics.
It's a comic metropolis.
If you want to sell vinyl pop Deadpool heads, then go to Toys R Us. You can buy those fucking things in Tesco now. I mean, stop buying them, people. Go and read. It should be about reading. Yeah. This is about reading and about great sequential art, and it's a lot of effort. Am I going on a comic book rant? I'm going on a
Go on it. This is the place for you to do that.
Yeah, do you know what? Just go out and read something, for fuck's sake. Stop watching fucking movies and reading and doing Netflix shows about nothing but don't take you anywhere. Seriously, there's some amazing comics out there just on the shelves. You just got to pick them up and read them. And, you wonder why comic book shops are shutting down and turning into toy shops? It's because of this fucking Marvel Universe crap. I don't care. Don't care what the new... I don't care if the Aquaman 2 movies, if it jumps the shark or anything. I don't care. I don't want to know. I don't care about Star Wars anymore. Star Wars is a brand name slapped onto any sci-fi script that's got...
I've never cared about Star Wars.
Don't want to know about Avengers, and I'm sure it was great watching them all fucking turn to dust, and Spider-Man's new costume. Great. Don't care. No, not even interested slightly, So
I get it. Do you know who I think this goes out to the parents, like parents of kids. Buy your kids comics. Check them out if you want to beforehand to make sure it's appropriate if you really want to. But then get your kids comics because they're fairly cheap. Easy to get to. They're going to entertain their kids, and it's a constant steady stream of your kids' entertainment. That means they're not glued to a screen, and they're reading. It's reading. It's picture books, but it's reading.
I'm learning to read Spanish at the moment. I went into a comic shop in Alcalá, Spain recently, which was lots of fun. They have a vibrant comic community there. I bought a Teen Titans comic for my daughter, and I'm learning to read it in Spanish, and it's wonderful. What a wonderful way to learn to read for kids.
Oh, Corey, you don't quite get human behaviour, do you, in Spanish? It's great.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's good. Comics are a fantastic window into the world of reading, so,
Do you know, actually, last year I was at the barber's, and while I was waiting, there was this guy who was reading a comic to his young son. Like, it was clearly the kid wasn't old enough to read on his own, but he was reading it. It was I think it was like a Batman comic or something, I don't know. But he was reading it to it, and it reminded me of when I was a kid, and my dad would read me kids' books. He wouldn't read me comics, but he would read me kids' books, and it's a lovely bonding thing. It's something that parents and kids can do together.
I'm just imagining him reading The Killing Joke to a 4-year-old now. Let it come, Barbara. Let it come. Let it come. Whatever.
Now, Timmy, have you ever had a bad day?
Her eyes look like she's been through something. Anyway, yeah. Reading is great, and that's what the problem is. The Comic Village is the product of people who just want to watch Game of Thrones, and they're not really going to the Comic Con for the comics. It's Thought Bubble, man. Thought Bubble's the one.
And if you like Game of Thrones, fine, great, but don't call it a Comic-Con. It's the same issue I have with fucking Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula. They called it Bram Stoker's Dracula, and yet it's nothing like the book. Well, it's kind of like the book, but I'm pretty sure that I've read the book several times. I was in a fucking play of Dracula in school, and I don't remember any one scene in the book where a fucking giant werewolf shags Lucy. That did not happen.
Oh yeah, that was a bad movie.
That was a bad movie.
Yeah. But if you want to enjoy a bit of classic monster, go and get Kenneth Branagh did a really good Frankenstein. So
yeah,
that's probably one of the best of those movies. And Kenneth Branagh's the only director who managed to do a good Marvel movie, in my opinion. So.
And if you want to mix monsters and Marvel, read Frankencastle.
Ooh.
The Punisher story by Rick Remender.
Oh god. Oh god, there's so many things out there, and like for example, really good web comics that are brimming with potential, and I can't wait to see where they go. And on that note, I think we're going to end the show. Guys, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having us.
It was really fun. Sorry we keep shaming you for all the things you don't watch.
I deserve to be shamed. I'm a bad boy.
It's endearing. I think the next time we do something like this, you'll be able to tell us that you've watched like some good Star Trek, some Seinfeld, and you've seen Akira.
I'll put it on the list, okay? And if you enjoy the show, Capers, please tell your friends. Shout it from the rooftops! And if you haven't already, go back and listen to some of our other super episodes, like our Apollo episode. Check that out. You can listen to the show on iTunes, Podbean, YouTube, Spotify, or at podcapers.com. We have a Patreon. Check out the rewards. Patreon.com/AB2HYC. If you want to get in touch with us, suggest show topics, or maybe come on the show yourself, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at AP2HYC, or email us at podcapers@ap2hyc.com. Thank you very much to Dan Harris for our logo, the lovely microphone with red and blue 3D glasses. Those are mine. And thank you for listening. This has been Podcapers, the official podcast of a place to hang your cape. Cue the music!